It's March something. We're in the middle of March somewhere. The Canadian men's national team roster.
12th.
I appreciate I warned him before. My ADHD is real. I'm letting the camera go. Welcome to the Africans, where we talk Canadian African content. We be the Africans and do both. My name is Wesley. Some people call me Quay. People call me everything. But we're here to talk about the men's national team. With me today, we have Andre Schaffner. You will find him on Twitter. You'll find him on Blue Sky. Fun fact, I called it Blue Ski for the first 4 months. So to me, it's Blue Ski. And we're here to talk about all things men's Canadian national team. If you are familiar with Andre, he does post a lot of content, whether it is TFC related, whether it is men's national team related. And he dropped a depth chart, both in October, then one in February, which is kind of where we started to talk about getting together, talking about this, some of the players that we are seeing that are standing out. That's what we're here to do. If you're watching this on the rewind, which you obviously are, make sure you leave your comments down below. Who are players who are exciting you so far in 2025 as we head towards CONCACAF Nations League? Andre, firstly, welcome to the program. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Good. So we want to kind of structure this in terms of talking about men's national teams in the year 2025. Now, yes, European season started last year, but we are looking at 2025 players who've had good moments, players who haven't. We were watching the transfer window, seeing who would move, who would go which way direction. We saw, the likes of a Jaden Nelson moving back to Vancouver for the MLS. We've seen players where we are rumors, were they going to move one way or the other? We're kind of waiting and seeing what happens. But at the end of the transfer window and going into the remainder of these season, is there a Canadian player, or are there Canadian players who maybe had moves that you are very excited about in terms of where they are now in terms of their career and what that potential might look like for the remainder of 2025?
Well, the two big names, in the last transfer window were obviously Ishmael Kone and Tejan Buchanan. I'm a little less excited about the destination that Kone ended up with, although, with time, it might prove to be just what he needs to get back onto the pitch and get his confidence back. So maybe it wasn't such a bad move. But I was excited about the prospects for Buchanan with Villarreal. He looked like he's a player that's tailor-made for that game that's played in Spain, maybe a little bit more suited for the Spanish game than the Italian game. And again, Villarreal looked like a team that, I think he just needs a few more weeks to get up and probably start staking a spot as a starter there.
No, I think it's interesting with him. I mean, Tejan gets to Inter, has the injury problems, which really kind of derail any time he tries to get going with the team. So Gain alone was probably the move you'd want him to do. Also, not quite sure if he has a position there with the left back kind of still up in the air at Inter, wondering if that wing back's going to leave or not. But like you said, but again, it's a little bit similar to Kone, but Kone just seemed to have fallen out of favor at his club, which was, I mean, Marseille is a fascinating watch this year for all the reasons, whether that's just all the talent assembled or it's all the personalities assembled. I think when you're looking at those two, those are good shouts. I like Kone moving because I think at least he can start getting spot minutes and then from there can build. He feels like a player who, less so than say Tejan, I feel like for him, Kone, his destiny is in his hands if he can carve out a role here, because his ascent has been rather quick, but now it's a matter of just maintaining the consistency, the performances, stacking those great performances one after another, and then showing, I do belong at this level, which we don't doubt the talent, but now it's the what have you done for me lately consistently for him. Do you think he has a good chance of really standing out in Ligue 1 where he is?
With Rennes, yeah, I do. I think he'll come around. I think he's got a coach that is a little bit more understanding. The Zerbi came across to me as being a little bit high strung, and I don't know if that's the kind of coach that a real laid back, gentleman like Kone really needs. And it just seemed like oil and water there. But his new coach at Rennes seems to believe in him and is willing to nurture him along to get the best out of him. Very similar to Wilfred Nancy in Montreal. We heard about Wilfred Nancy saying that Kone was his biggest headache and yet his biggest success. And it just took him a while to figure him out. And
Mm,
I think his new coach has probably looked at Kone's past and has obviously got the cheat sheets from Wilfred Nancy, so to speak, and has realized he needs to be a little bit more nurtured. It's again the Zerbi style, his managerial style just didn't mesh with Kone, and uh, I think the more Kone gets to play, I think the more his qualities will come out. It's the stop start that he always had in Marseille.
mhm.
It didn't help him. The injuries didn't help him. The pressure didn't help him. It might have been too much too fast. I don't know, but I think Rennes will turn out to be a good landing for him, at least for these next 6 months.
No, I think that's definitely a good point to bring up. Just the start stop. Both players that you brought up, injuries have played a role
Yep.
in getting going, and injuries are part of the game. And so it's a matter of just being able to recover. I mean, we've even had questions with, say, like Davies this year, where it's a slight hamstring. Is he going to be out for a while? Comes back a little bit early, sits out for a bit at the end of a game. Is he okay? Yes, he's fine. They're cautionary. A player like that, you're thinking, okay, are they durable? But now you're also having those questions, whether it's fair or not. The questions start to prevail. Whether it's injuries, Tejan's more seem more freakish injuries.
Yeah,
Whereas when you start hearing, yeah,
exactly. That's the word I was going to use. It was a freak injury in
mhm,
training. Breaking a bone like that, it's bad luck. It
mhm,
really was, especially the timing for him to have that
agreed.
happen to him with that move to Inter just happening. This August, September was supposed to be his time to really put a stamp on earning a spot, and instead he's rehabbing a broken leg. So yeah, he basically lost the entire first half of the year.
No, most definitely. And I mean, with time, you kind of come through, but that's part of the game. That's part of the sport overall, how you recover from those types of situations. I've pulled up your depth chart here. I hope it's not too small for you faint of vision out there. Stand in there, friends. But again, you talk about those two players. I think it's interesting when we look at, and we'll get to the Canadian roster for Nations League semis, right? The right side, you have Tejan, Junior Hoylett, Theo Corbinu, who is playing as a second striker for TFC right now, but really is just a winger stuck in a striker's body. Jaquil Marshall-Rudy gets away from TFC in Montreal, getting minutes. You look at the left-hand side, right? You see the Liam Millers, the Schaffelberg. Miller being out with injury really opens up that left side. Some may feel that Schaffelberg has done a good enough job to cement himself as a starter. I'm not sure if he's done that yet. I like to see consistency both with the national team shirt as well as your club. Stephen
There's
Afrifa
nobody
is there.
healthier, and
Yep,
that's better than him right now. And
that's
although
true.
his health right now is in question too, but as long as Liam is out with that injury, he's Schaffelberg's in the driver's seat.
No, most definitely. And I mean, it brings up the interesting question of I was having this conversation with Lane, who another YouTuber who does Canadian men's national team stuff, and he asked his listeners, do we have a problem if we look down at our fullback position? And a lot of people are like, oh, it's our deepest position. And because I'm terrible, Andre, I'll be honest. I am someone who doesn't enjoy the moment. Right. The second we made the World Cup, I'm like, okay, 2026. Who's gonna make it? Who do we phase out? I never enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
Right. So we're a year away from a World Cup, and we look at our back line, and I think to myself, okay, yeah, we have, Davies is there, Johnson is there. I think those two solidly are starting quality for the team. But then behind them, then you start to have a conversation where it's just, okay, you've seen Sam Adekubi, who unfortunately just been snake bitten. He's a player that I
Yeah.
wish, man, just get healthy. Don't even take a call up. Just get
I
healthy.
really wanted him for this
Mhm.
window, especially with the injuries up front with Miller and Schaffelberg being questionable. he would have been ideal to come in. And just like Bayern Munich just did yesterday, I guess it was, when
Mhm.
they had Davies start at left back. There was injury up with, I guess it was Kingsley Coman,
Yeah.
moved Davies up to play on the left wing, and he took advantage of it, scored that goal. I saw the same type of scenario actually unfolding with Canada's roster this window,
Mhm.
with all those injuries up on the left side. Late in the game, maybe they move Davies up, and Atakubi slots into his left back spot.
Mhm.
And defensively, Atakubi is very, very good too.
He
And
is at yeah.
between the two of them, I think they can lock down that left side as good as any of the other combinations they have. But yeah, Sam Snakebit. That's one good way to
It's
put it.
unfortunate for Sam. No, and I think that point is valid for a lot of people because I think there are still some who look at the conversation with where is Davies best utilized, right? Is he better
Yeah.
off in your fullback? And my answer has always been I think you can look at your depth and that should really dictate what you should or shouldn't do. I think at right now, I don't know if you have depth that is as quality after you drop John because I think there's a clear separation between Johnson and Davies to Larea and Atakubi right now, regardless
Yes.
of their timing. So to me, I'm like, if the drop off is that significant,
If you're
would I let? Yeah.
if they're going to play the best, opponents, you need to have guys like Davies and Johnston in there. There's no doubt about it.
Mhm.
They're they're your best choices. Other games especially in the region in CONCACAF, yeah, Larea is still going to be dominant. And Atakubi the same.
Mhm.
But I would, when you're getting into this, playing Mexico, playing the U.S., the tournament last summer there in the Copa,
Mhm.
um, the depth behind Johnston and Davies wasn't necessarily always the best. Obviously, I think Atakubi was injured there too, couldn't
Mhm.
play. And I think Larea was there, but I think he might have had a niggle or two as well. I can't remember now.
Yeah, Lorray was there because after Tejan got injured, we all had a conversation as who was going to start, and then it was they started Larea further up top, which was
Yeah,
interesting to me because then that was just a conversation of like, can we right, right. I didn't want to have the Derek Cornelius Stearns 2022 World Cup qualifiers, which is like, why are we bringing him if you're not going to play him?
exactly.
Just play players in their position.
I
Um,
remember that.
ah, great days they were. We were
Yep.
younger then, Andre. We were younger then. But when you look at the depth chart, we talk about players that we've seen. Are there players for you that you are watching intensely for 2025? Right. I know MLS season just started, right? So naming the names are off everyone's head, right? Jaden Nelson started the year off with a bang. So people are saying, okay, maybe he's a player who might by the end of the year play his way onto the roster, but certainly I think is playing his way onto the Gold Cup roster, which we'll talk
Well,
about a
that
little
that
bit
left
more.
side, there's a lot of players that we've got some prospects in there.
Mhm.
They're not all necessarily listed on the
On the
chart
depth
there.
chart,
Again,
yeah.
I wasn't trying to name everybody. I was trying to give a sample of what we have, the top end sample mostly.
Mhm.
But Afrifa was one that I was hoping would make another move this year to increase his playing time, etc. And Kamani Stewart Baines as well. And they seem to have started off on the wrong foot this year right now. Afrifa's hardly seen any action. I'm not even sure if he's seen the pitch yet. And Stuart Baines got a few minutes in one game, and now he's back with Next Pro. So
Mhm.
that's a concern. So yeah, so Jaden Nelson, he was a wild card again. You just never knew what you're going to get with him.
Yeah.
Um, Other prospects, I mean, I just threw down Luca Colesho because I mean he's still somebody that we wouldn't mind getting. I mean, we just got Jebison, who hasn't been exactly tearing things up, but he's playing on a team at a high level, and
Mhm.
Colesho's in a similar situation. It would be nice to get him too, but would he step right in? Well, I guess right now he probably would with all the injuries, but uh, yeah,
I would
there's
argue if you did get him, I would put him right in. If you got Koleosho right now, I would argue he is
oh,
quality enough to, but he's not healthy.
100%,
He's still rehabbing as
100%.
well.
Yeah.
And that's where the conversation where like where is Schaffelberg best used? I think Schaffelberg is best used as, at least for me. To me, he's the best used as a if it's not working, you still at least have this.
Yeah.
right? Schaffelberg is like 40. I know what I'm getting for 45 minutes. And worst case scenario, if I start someone in the first half and it's not working or I need to change him up, Schaff will go in. I'll get 45 minutes of just pure gas, and we'll just tear this turf up. And I'm fine with that. I think that
No, I
works
agree.
well. I think that
I
does
agree.
work well. Any other
You know,
players that you are looking at interestingly for 2025? Whether that's just, I mean, the goalkeeper, it looks like it's swung back to Dane St. Clair, for instance.
yeah,
Um,
it's
and
it's St. Clair's spot to lose at this point.
mhm,
He's been continuously increasing his stock, so to speak. I mean, he's been fantastic for Minnesota. The last you know 4 or 5 months of the season last year for Minnesota, when he came back from Copa, he was just outstanding.
mhm,
By far, I think he was the best goalie in MLS. And he's off to a good start again. You know, the first 3 games this year.
no,
It's
definitely.
his, you know, and he's played well with Canada too. You know, he's at a right age now. He's 27. I think he's going to turn 28 this year.
Yep.
This is his time to step in and take the reins, and maybe be our top guy for the next 2 World Cup cycles. To be honest,
We'll
um,
wait and see.
but
Yeah.
definitely this one, unless something bad happens, it's his. Crapeau has seemingly dropped off a cliff. Um, I don't know what's gone on in Portland, but he's fallen out of favor there. He's hurt right now too, apparently, but he's on this roster.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know what to make of that. He looked like the heir apparent to Borjan for forever, but he hasn't seemed to have picked up the mantle, so to speak.
I feel that Crepeau, maybe this is controversial, maybe it's not. I think if he, and I don't think he would have played that World Cup. I think if he hadn't broken his leg, I think he should have started in Qatar. I think he should have, because I
Yeah.
think the form, I mean, he was going off of, he had the Gold Cup in 21, which was good run up until they lost to Mexico because 7 minutes of additional time is this is a suggestion. Let's get to 14 and let Mexico score. I digress on my rant. And then he had the window where Morion was out, where he goes, that's the Mexico, Jamaica, Panama window.
Yes.
And then he's at LAFC and he's playing so well. And then he breaks his leg in the final. And I feel that at that point, it's harsh sometimes. Injuries happen in sports, but that to me should have been his World Cup. The broken leg makes it no longer a conversation. And I know the debate would have been, you start him versus starting Borjan, who had been there, done that. But to me, I think 22 should have been that piece. And he might be a player who maybe we've missed his peak. And now he maybe doesn't get that opportunity to start on that big of a stage.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him, the situation he's in right now. But going back to 2022, I'm going to be on the other side of the fence. I still think that was Borjan's tournament. I know a lot of people have a bit of a love-hate approach with the way he played. I think, especially in that game with Morocco, you know, people made way more than they should have about that little bit of knee tapping that he did her with the ball. I
Yeah.
think that was just expressing a bit of confidence. I think he was made out to be the scapegoat, in my
Mm.
opinion. But nevertheless, he's a guy that's now going on. I think he's going to be 38 this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's on his way out. But if you look at the chart, for the goalkeepers, uh, everybody is basically listed there as either uncapped or not committed or whatever. These are all players that some of them have been around the a CANMNT squad. They've been called up for certain windows.
Mhm.
Not any of them have seen a minute of action.
Yeah.
Not Pantemis, not Sirois, not McGill. I think Braza might have been called in for one, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Thomas Hassel definitely years ago. He was called in for one. He didn't get a sniff of action either. We've only got, in the last 4 to 5 years, we only have 3 goalies that have played for Canada, and that's Crepeau, St. Clair, and Borjan.
Yep.
And with Borjan out of the picture now, you know, uh, he's he's not willing to be a backup, so his days are pretty much numbered as being a depth option even on the team. He's pretty much gone. So you're looking at Crepeau and St. Clair. Crepeau is not having a great time right now. Hurt, out of favor in Portland. I think with the selection of this team this morning, I felt bad for James Pantemis. I know I'm not saying I was a big fan of him over the last few years. But I think he's really picked up the torch, so to speak, in Portland. He's taken over the job from Crepeau, and he's looked pretty good, especially this year. So I just wonder what he needed to do to even be the third goalie on this team. So
I think Marsh does like Tom McGill. I mean, we've seen him come
definitely
into.
Does.
I mean, if that wasn't clear, I mean,
Yeah.
the man loves a McGill. Like you can't do it. And I think, I mean, when you look at the interesting thing with like the goalkeeping depth chart, right? I mean, all these names are pretty much. Pantemis might be the oldest one out of all of these guys that are here. So
he's not that
maybe
old. He's also, I think he's the same age as St. Clair. I think he's 27 going on 28.
yeah, which is
He's
what
not
makes
that
it
old
interesting,
for a
right?
goalkeeper. He's not that old.
No, goalkeepers, you once you get into that 27, 28, unless you are like a
Neuer.
superb phenom, right? Yeah, unless
Yeah.
you're Neuer or you're Buffon, like you're basically just playing. You're
Yeah.
once you get to that age, that's when you start to take off. So there's no real issue with it. But right now, Canada might run into that situation where okay, you assume St. Clair takes the job. All you assume that, and then Crepeau is there because he just becomes the steady backup. He's there ready to go. And then you have just a schmozzle of which goalkeeper emerges out of this the quickest, right? Is it Owen Goodman, who maybe gets an opportunity somewhere? Or is it Tom McGill? Is it Pantemis who does something great as well? Jonathan Sirois, right? There's a lot of options where consistently they don't maybe put up the regular solid performances, but it might just be put them in a hat. Whoever is able to develop and get those positions, that's who you start to give that trust for. And they have nothing but friendlies this year for the rest of the year after the Gold Cup.
Yeah.
Maybe the Gold Cup is we finally see a Tom McGill get that tournament, or you give it to Sirois and then you say, let's see what you can do under the lights. And then from there, you go from there.
I'm not sure what's going to happen with the Gold Cup because that also depends on whether the strategy is to go with your A squad again, or is it going to be like an A- B+ type of situation? I mean, we already know we're going to be missing Eustachio and Davies. We don't know where Jonathan David is going to end up come July. So, or is this going to be a chance for some of these guys that are the super subs, the players on the fringe? Are they going to get a chance to state their claim to a spot? I don't know, but with the keepers, I really think they need to give players like Sirois. Pantemis has got himself back into the situation again, into the story. They need to give them an opportunity to play and see what they can do. Obviously, this isn't the window that it's going to happen, but they do need to have that happen. We need to get other goalies into the mix, give them a game, half a game. Some of these friendlies, have a game where Pantemis starts, Sirois finishes, vice versa, McGill. It doesn't matter, but give them some minutes. Long term, you brought up a name though that I'm pretty high on, as some people should be aware, is Owen Goodman. I really think that he's the next dual nat that Marsh needs to focus on to bring into the fold. He's not going to be a factor this year. He might not even be a factor at the World Cup next year. Although anything's possible with him. He's tearing up League Two. Yeah, it's League Two, but I mean, he's playing a lot of games. He's getting a lot of clean sheets. He's doing well. He's got the physique. He's another big boy like St. Clair.
Yes,
he covers. He's a good shot stopper. And from whatever little bits of information I've been able to get on him, he's good. He's well liked and he's a good player. He might be somebody for the future. maybe the 2030 World Cup, depending on
Mm.
how things go with St. Clair. But given what we've got right now in MLS, players that they're good, but they're not great necessarily. I really think that he's the one they need to bring in. He's younger than McGill. I think he's still 21. He might turn 22 this year. I'm not sure.
That's correct. 21,
20,
22 this year.
21. He's 21
Yes.
this year.
Yep.
So he's still very young. And yeah, he's the guy that I think would be the goalkeeper of the future to contend with St. Clair. I think St. Clair is going to be around for a while. He's going to be
No,
there.
definitely.
But Crepeau, he's on the he's hit 30 now too.
Hmm.
How long is he going to be there for the next World Cup after this one? I mean, I doubt it. I don't see it.
I mean, for me, I think if he's going to start a World Cup, it's this World Cup because I feel
Yeah.
that by 2030, it's probably going to be Dane St. Clair.
Yeah.
But again, I feel like I think his peak was broken, pun intended,
When he
by
broke his
a
leg.
broken leg. Yeah. Sorry, Max. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to
No.
pun you like that. I didn't mean to pun you like that.
No, not at all.
But
It
you
was
mentioned
horrible
no.
luck.
It was very much horrible luck. But you mentioned not the window. You have CONCACAF Nations League coming up right now. We have the roster that's there. Dropped a couple days ago, though we waited anxiously for it. Ali Ahmed, Tejan Buchanan, Moise Bombito, Mathieu Chouanière, Derek Cornelius, Maxime Crépeau, Jonathan David, Promise David, Alfonso Davies, Stefan Eustachio, Daniel Jebison, Alistair Johnson, Jamie Knight LaBelle, Ishmael Kone, Kyle Laren, Richie Larea, Tom McGill, Tenny Oluwashi, Jonathan Osorio, Jacob Schaffelberg, Nico Seeger, Dane St. Clair, and Joel Waterman is the 23, with apparently Jebison waiting for his paperwork clearance.
He did get it. He
They
did
got
get
it.
it.
Yeah.
He literally got it, or I guess Marsh must have known that he got it, or he wouldn't have been on the list. But it came very late. Like even when this list was that you've got posted here came out, I was looking at the FIFA changes of association page, and it wasn't listed yet. And when it finally showed up, I think it was about half an hour after this roster was released, they actually had it look like it was backdated a bit because they had the dates on the side when these approvals are made, and his was dated as the 10th of March. Obviously, today is the 12th, and it was ahead of somebody or behind somebody that had their association change on the 7th last Friday. So it looks like FIFA was a bit of a panic to get that up as well.
Panic was happening.
So and for people like you and I that don't have the behind the scenes access to the information like Marsh and Canada Soccer does have, you start to question, is that paperwork going to be there in time? Is that what was holding up the release of the whole roster to begin with? That and obviously the injuries, but I wasn't sure if he was going to make it.
I think when I see it, I'm not surprised, but I think thinking about it, I'm a little bit like I shouldn't have been surprised that both Promise and then Daniel made this roster. I shouldn't have. They just switched over. It was it was profile enough, high profile for at least Canadians who have been. I mean, Daniel Jebison has been a name. I remember going on to Jamaican streams and being like, "Hey, leave him alone. He's coming. He's ours. Okay, he's ours." But like Jebison and Promise David coming in to what feels like now a crowded 9 room. I mean, we'll talk about the CONCACAF Nations League, but how do you feel about the 9s right now?
It's a wonderful headache for Marsh right now.
Indeed.
I'm not exactly sure. He probably talked about it today. I didn't get to see all his interviews yet, but what a headache to have. I mean, you just look at everybody that he's got available now. David, Laren he's just turning 30 this year. He's not old. You might be the old guy in the striker group, but he's still prime. Whether he is in 5 years, I don't know, but I think he's probably. I think he even knows he's probably not going to be there at that point. But right now, he's still playing in La Liga, top notch league. he's still one of the guys. David, you got Jebison joining in. Promise David, who has been just tearing up Belgium and Conference League or was it Europa League? Sorry.
Yeah, Europa League.
Once he got into it, he had a good series against Ajax. You go, behind those guys, and I can't even memorize them all here. I got to go to my list. Theo Bair, what did he have to do to not not get on this list? What did he do? Because he was fantastic the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks. He's playing for a mid-range League One team. He's been getting starting minutes. People, even their fan base, they're pulling for him. He got a well-earned goal again. Get back onto the score sheet. He's starting games. His work rate is second to none from what I hear. I honestly thought he was probably going to be, at least one of the guys on this team as well. Jason Russell-Rowe, 2 goals in his first 3 games, and even the game that he didn't score, he was still the striker for all the full 90 minutes. I think he's been off to a more productive start than Oluwaseyi, but yet Oluwaseyi gets the call. And he's the one striker that I am kind of surprised did get the call. He hasn't scored a goal even for Minnesota, I think, since like last July. Like he's a little bit snake bit right now, and the numbers aren't there. I'm happy for the work rate, but I mean a lot of these other strikers are doing it too. I was a bit surprised to see Oluwaseyi there, and I guess that's another example of Marsh liking some of the guys that he's got and sticking with who he knows, like Crapeau again, because another example there. But who else does he have? I mean, Kwasi Poku got seriously hurt there, so he's been out for a while. Obviously Jebison just came on board. Du Mercy Michel is not far off either. Here's another guy that's like 21, 22. I think that next year he's going to be the starter for Vitoria Gourmesh. Let's look to Mexico. Santiago Lopez.
Yep.
Outstanding player for the U20s in the last cycle that he participated in. Scored up in Vancouver. He's young, but he looks like he's got the tools and he looks like he's got the smarts. It's just a matter of bringing this guy along, and I think Pumas are doing a good job with him.
No, the nines again, full, and I think a lot of it will come down to. I think right now it seems that Marsh is married to that 4-4-2 lineup or that 4-2-2-2 that he likes to play in that pressing pairings, and I think that's great. I think for strikers because at least you'll have that pairing. I think where a lot of those players, the conversation will be where can they be successful on this pitch if they want to make this 23, let alone this starting 11, right? And I think for me, that's where it'll come in, right? Like a player like Kwesi Poku, what makes him unique is and I don't want to just pigeonhole him to a category, but he goes from a left back to a striker. He's playing winger before he gets hurt out in Belgium. And I'm like, I don't want to say you're the next Richie. I don't want to say that's you because then you're going to get labeled as that. But it's like, he might be this generation's version of that Swiss Army. Yeah, you can kind of put him anywhere, right? On that left side.
His call up that he got last fall was deserved. He's a young player that was showing some fantastic results. I know it was CPL, but he was dominating in the short time that he was there. He earned the move over to Molenbeek, which I forget which Benelux country that is now. Belgium or I think it's Belgium. Yeah, second division Belgium.
Yeah,
and he earned the move there. By all accounts, he was coming along pretty well with them. So too bad that he got that injury. But I mean, I think he was another one that's floating around on the fringes that I think when he comes in, he could make an impact. Now, like you said, the one good thing about him that would have been helpful, this window if he was healthy, is he is capable of playing on the wing, and
Mhm.
he would slide in there, I think, seamlessly. But that's not happening, so can't worry about that right now.
No,
But some of
I
these other
do.
players, they
Yeah.
might need to be more adaptable too. There's opportunities with on the wing because we don't have the depth there.
The wing on both end fullback, but then also there. I wonder if he looked like what Marsh, if Marsh would play more because and I'll use Jaden Nelson as this example, right? Jaden Nelson is a winger who started to be able to. He's more of a roaming winger where he can still create from the middle. He's like an 8 slash, not even an 8. He's like a 7, 11/10, right? Can be there, but then the Roman. I wonder if in that winger position, he looks for players who can do more so than that. So maybe that frees up a player like a Jonathan David who wants to drop in, be more involved, wants to create from that 10 position. Because I find the Uruguay game at the Copa America was a eye opener for me. Not really, but it was more of a Kone, here's all the space for you to dominate. And Kone decided, I will take the space in the midfield and I will play it between the boxes, and you will
Yeah,
see why everyone is in love with this town. And I'm like, okay, this works. This doesn't necessarily work with Jonathan David because David likes to go into those spaces sometimes. And so it becomes a question of like, okay, for you to be your best version of you, you either have to have a conversation with Jonathan and say, hey, stay in the low 9, or possibly not to say that you can't start David and Kone, but maybe it's a conversation of maybe you deploy them differently so that they can both use that space in a way that is fruitful for both of them. Because if not, it just feels like, oh, there's David, oh, Kone's in that space too. Okay. And it can work at times, but
I,
when they have it, you see them really embracing and dominating those spaces.
yeah, for sure. I do think that players like David and many of these other strikers we have, I believe they do look better in a two striker formation. So
Mhm,
I have no problem with the two up top. Uh, I also think that Canada looks better with three in the midfield, and not including the guys out wide.
mhm.
Um, but how you're going to do that with the way Marsh has got things set up right now with four at the back, I don't know. Um, so that does leave a bit of a conundrum there. But uh, Jonathan David should not have to be coming back that deep all the time. I like his link up play to an extent, but he scores goals. He's very opportunistic. He's not going to do that if he's playing too deep. He needs
Mhm.
to be up there. But I do like, the potential partnership that could be coming with his other namesake with Promise. I mean, it hasn't been that bad with Laren. I mean, a lot of people are all over the Laren and David. They don't fit. Yeah, some games it doesn't work. You're right, but they've got a bit of a partnership there too. And I think Promise, what he's going to offer a little bit more than what even Laren provides, because Laren is another guy that doesn't mind dropping back a bit.
Mhm.
Is Promise is a guy that can lead the line. He's a big
Yes.
body. He doesn't mind, getting behind the lines. He's got some speed. He's actually, fairly good with his feet, with the ball at his feet. Um, he's going to open up some space for a guy like Jonathan David, and I dare say he might, a guy like Coney, to fill in that vacuum in behind. He's going to be a handful
Mhm.
for whoever they're playing against. He's shown that the way he's played this year. So, but like I said, David has to. He's a forward, whether he's a second striker
Or he's the
or the guy at the tip. He's got to be up there where he can put the ball in the net because it's what he does well.
Indeed, it is. We saw that roster for Canada. They're playing Mexico on the 20th, which is next week, Thursday. Depending on when you're watching this, it might be today, or it might be a few days, or it's already happened. So, congratulations, team. Insert team. Um, how big is a win? How important is a win here? I've maintained we've talked about Canada soccer for about 3 years, and I always bring this up anytime we talk about the men's. There's always that moniker that gets floated around. Are they the kings of CONCACAF? No, we don't have a crown. Stop making me royalty. We don't have a crown. We don't have a trophy. Stop giving me things.
Yeah,
But is how important is winning this tournament, this iteration of it, versus even I wouldn't even say versus the Gold Cup, because that diminishes the Gold Cup. And I've had a whole week and a half of talking about how AFCON is a real
Yeah,
tournament. So the Gold Cup, follow suit, please. But
yeah.
Nations League, why is it so important for Canada right now?
Well, I don't want to put too much pressure on. I wouldn't want to put too much pressure on the team at this point, but they need to have something to show for it. They need hardware. They need silverware. So yeah, they do need this win, but it's not the end of the world if they don't. This is still an up and coming young team. They have not reached their pinnacle. I wouldn't call what we have right now a golden generation. We don't even know what that golden generation is going to look like yet. With all the prospects that are playing in the U17s, the U20s, they, these aren't finished products yet. And some of these guys are very good, and they're going to show up. Like you look at the team that we had at the World Cup 2.5 years ago. You look at the roster we have now. Almost half of those guys are not there anymore. They're retired or they've just faded out because the younger guys that have come up, they're better. They've got better training. There's the infrastructure of soccer in Canada has improved, and you're
Mhm.
seeing the results of that. Um, Again, I don't think it's the end of the road if they don't win, but if they do win, I think it's going to be quite the catalyst for them going forward into 2026.
Agree. I agree with your sentiment. However, not to say you know what? I'm putting the pressure on them. I'm gonna say I think they don't need
I'm not
it.
sure what you're saying there. You're breaking up on me.
Okay, okay. I
There you
think
go.
there we go. We're back. Technology at its finest. I think they need this to. I said after 2022, Canada is uncomfortably sitting in the third best chair in CONCACAF, and they have to now prove that they belong there.
It's Canada and the
So
bronze medal all over again.
it really is that. And so they had Nations League where they lost to the US in the finals. And then the next Nations League they don't make because 17 minutes in Toronto versus Jamaica.
Yeah,
Um, and so I agree with you. I think they do need this. I think it might be more of a missed opportunity versus say it's not the end of the. I don't think it's the end of the world they lose it, but I will certainly look at it as a missed opportunity because you're
100%.
facing probably the weakest version of Mexico we've seen in a lot of our lives. I'm going to say that we're the
Yeah,
same age, so you're about 35. So yeah,
yeah. I'm not going to say that it's necessarily the worst that we've seen of Mexico. It's that everybody else has caught up to them. They've still got some good players.
hmm
It's just that Canada is that much better, and the United States has pulled even with them and probably surpassed them in the last 5 years already.
hmm
Um, I if you've read that book that was big a few years back, Soccernomics, you
hmm
see what's going on here. The
yeah.
countries that have the wealth that they can spend on the game, the countries that have the population, that they have the resources to pool and apply that economic wealth. You're seeing that with the United States right now. They might not have the outstanding players that Canada has right now, or even some of the ones that Mexico had in the past. I mean, apologies to Pulisic, but you know, what they do have is waves of players that are coming up,
hmm
and when they have players go down, there's not a big drop off in what they have coming up to replace those guys. It is a drop off, but it's not as steep.
hmm
You see what we're dealing with here in Canada, and on the left side, and I'm not want to put a lot of pressure on Millar and Schaffelberg. They're not elite players, but they're good, and they're the
hmm
best we have. But if they drop off, what do we have behind them? It's not that deep. We don't have, uh, you know, the U.S. has 9 times the population or 8.5 times the population. Canada, Mexico is about 3 to 4 times our size. They've got depth, and the Mexican team right now, uh, I think we'd be. I think it would be unwise to underestimate them.
hmm
I think they're better than what people think, but at the same time, we're better too. So it'll be a great game. And yeah, I think they can take it, but I don't want to overemphasize the thought that it could be a missed opportunity if it or not, let's say missed opportunity, but a disastrous failure if they don't win. This is best
Yeah,
on best.
exactly. And you're going to learn a lot about yourself in this situation. And so you are playing a team that when you played last, that team was still trying to figure themselves out. But it was the most CONCACAF game you've
Oh
CONCACAF'd in a
yeah,
long time. I'd argue, I was talking to one of my friends. I'm like, I feel like the game against Panama was the game that we thought we would get against Mexico, but we got the Mexico game instead. And
yeah,
so that team is coming back. They're saying, and there's something to be the best, you have to beat the best. And for them, it'd be quite the pathway they would take, because then they would, in theory, beat Mexico and then take on the US or Panama. Thomas, do this for me, please. Thomas, please do this for me. But like, I feel it would be a great path. And I think, especially with a World Cup coming the next year, they would need, I think they don't need it, but it would certainly help them in terms of stamping more of that casual fans' attention and saying, okay, this team
yeah.
just did this. We just beat the big, I don't, this is a terrible example, but I'm going to use this. Do you remember the 2000 the men's World Cup, the under 20 we hosted in 2004, 2004, 2005?
2007, I think it was.
Oh yeah, around seven, right? And remember during the friendlies where they beat Brazil in the friendlies
Yeah,
beforehand, and everyone was like, "We're gonna do something." They need that for Nations League, and I think
yeah.
if they do that with, yes, they'll have friendlies coming up, but I think for the general population, at least stamping and saying we are at least, if not top two, if not the best team in this last cycle, I think that'll help a lot. Hopefully, they don't repeat what the under 20s did in 2007, but I think they could use a stamp of approval, a signature moment, for lack of better words, where they can just say, we are here. This, like you said, shows off all the work that we've done. We have arrived, and we are here to stay, not just because there's a World Cup
And
after.
I think the way Mexico played Canada last fall too was
Mhm.
quite indicative of how the roles are slowly changing.
Mhm.
Uh, by Mexico playing that negative game that they played, especially in that first half, I think that was the ultimate show of respect to Canada
Mhm.
in a way. Canada wasn't expecting that. They thought, oh, it's gonna be a back and forth game. Well, it was this close to a bloodbath, especially in the first 50 minutes of the game.
Yes.
Uh, so I'm not sure what's going to happen in this game because this is going to be a friendly, where the referee is going to be hesitant to pull out the cards.
Mhm.
This is a competitive game, so Mexico isn't going to be able to pull off maybe that same strategy to the same
Mhm.
effect in this game. So I'm looking forward to this game. Uh, Now the again back to whether losing is going to be like considered a complete failure. I think that's a bit harsh, but I do agree that if by winning this game and winning it all, I think Canada can put to rest some of the criticisms that have been leveled at them by others in the region.
Mhm.
Um, that's history. It'll show that Canada belongs. Yeah, forget about this Kings of CONCACAF. I agree, but a win would put them in the ascendancy with the other two big powers, and they can't take that away.
They cannot. Do you, putting you on the spot, do you have a score prediction this early? I mean, we're almost a week away, or days, depending on when you're watching this. Do you have a score prediction for this game?
I see it. I do believe Canada's going to win. Probably it'll be a close game. It'll be
Mhm.
something like 2-1 or something like that. I think it'll be tight because of the way I think Mexico's going to be very tight. I think they're going to try to foul as much as it can within without getting themselves into too much card trouble,
Mhm.
and it'll be tight that way. On the other hand, if Mexico doesn't play this right, um, I see the firepower that Canada has up top. and it could go ugly for them as well. But I do think it's going to be a tight game. I think a 2-1 or a 3-2 or something like that is more likely to be seen. That's my thought, anyways.
Yeah, I am stuck between like a 2-1 type of game, where it's like I always like to throw in like the adjectives that make things sound way more pretty than anything. It's like a comfortable 2-1 win or a hard fought 5-0 victory. It's like, what are you saying, sir? Just give the numbers. But
Yeah,
I
that
feel like let me see the first 10 minutes of this game, and I'll have a better feel how this game ends, because again, if this is Mexico Canada version 2, again, they're in California, but this is basically a pro Mexico crowd. So
yes,
if you guys wanted
definitely.
adversity, it's free. It's there for you.
Yeah.
But I think they weathering that will be important. That their composure will be important for that game. But I think get your opportunities, convert them, as any good coach would say. Finish your chances, and you have a chance. Thank you. That would be my advice for them. But I think a 2-1 is where I'm going to stick with right now. Way too early, and we'll kind of see how they line up and going from there. Before we wrap up here, it's been great having you, Andre. It's been a nice flowing conversation.
Well, it's been fun to be here.
Always a pleasure. Gold Cup, right? The Gold Cup. Again, how do we look at the Gold Cup will be interesting, because their Club World Cup is happening. And so because of that, I mean, Canada's probably not going to have Davies. They're probably not going to have Eustachio.
Well, they won't have either of those two for sure.
Yeah. I say probably. You never know. Maybe they'll be nice. Oliver Kahn is friendly sometimes. He'll let us have. We're just on the other side of the country.
Yeah.
But for you, I mean, we've kind of touched on it a bit. Where is this Canada going to be bringing more of an A- squad, or as strong as they can, or is this another audition for some players who want to commit to the program for you? Are there players right now that you'd like to see make the Gold Cup roster? I know Nations League isn't even here yet, but let's talk Gold Cup. Are there players that you'd like to see make the squad and just have an audition for a continental tournament like that?
Well, I would like to see some of the other strikers get a bit of a chance. Again, I don't know if David's going to be there, because it depends on where he lands.
Mhm.
He may be landing on a team that's going to be in the Club World Cup himself. I think maybe it would be a good time for maybe a guy like Laren to maybe step aside for one tournament as well, and maybe give guys like Jason Russell-Rowe and Theo Barry, give them some more significant minutes, and along with Jebison, let them
Mhm.
and Promise David again, give them the opportunity to solidify and get comfortable in the Marsh system. Another one guy I would like to see is Du Merci Michel.
Mhm.
I do. I'm high on him. I do think he fits the way that that Marsh would like to play. He's a very athletic player. He's good in the air. He can hold the line very well as well. He's a guy that I would like to see. Um, Going to the midfield to bolster the midfield. We know Stachio's not going to be there.
Mhm.
I'm not sure what to say about Osorio. I mean, I know there's a lot of detractors that want him gone, but he is that veteran presence in the room. But on the other hand, I'd like to see guys like Chouanier get more significant time.
Mhm.
Nathan Saliba, I'd like to see him
Yes.
maybe brought into the picture. Uh, Nico Shiger still hasn't really had a solid run out with the team. It's been a lot of cameo appearances for the most part, but he's looked good. But let's
Mhm.
see what he does with the start. That's what I'd like to see. Might be a little bit early for a guy like Justin Smith, but these are guys I'd like to see step up. Some of these guys, maybe it might be more appropriate to wait till the fall when we have a few friendlies, but
Mhm.
um, I'd like to see that. And central defense again too. Do we want to wear out Cornelius and Bombito? Cornelius in particular, playing in Sweden and then coming over to France, he needs a break. Uh,
Mhm.
he's been playing nonstop soccer for about 2 years now. So I would like to see guys like maybe give Knight LaBelle
Yeah,
some
and
more time.
Fougerolles. Yeah.
Maybe see what's going on with Luc de Fogerol. Um, he's been injured. He hasn't played now in like 4 months. There's also a young prospect playing in Italy right now. That's from the used to be in the Toronto organization. Jovan Ivanisevic. He's
Yes.
a prospect that is being looked at rather highly, playing in Bologna right now. These are guys I'd like to see.
Hmm. No, I
But
think those are good names, and it really does come down for what you like to see. I think for me, not that I don't care about any of the positions, but I am very much curious what fullback 3 and 4 look like. Whether we're going to try to stay with Larea and Atakubi when they're healthy, or if we find someone, if it's a Bessong who you bring back in for another shout. Seager is a midfielder, but they've played him out wide as a fullback before. Is where does Marsh see him? I think he'd be better. Again, we both agree where I think they're better off with a 3-man midfield. But if you're not going to do that, then it's a conversation of can Seager, can he supplant a player like Alistair Johnson? Right now, I don't think so.
no, I don't think so either.
Mm-hmm.
I think Johnson is his experience for one thing it puts him a level above Nico Shiger right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't see that, but he could very well be his understudy. I mean, he's Larea is 30 now.
Mm-hmm.
He's running into injuries with his legs as well. How long are they going to carry him? He could be Nico Shiger. That's option 2 at right wing
No.
back, if you will. On the left side, yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, Atakubi should be that guy right now for Davies, but he's had the worst luck with injuries as well. So we need to bring somebody in there. That's for sure. But I don't know if the Gold Cup is the
Is
spot
the
that we're going to
spot
do
to do
that.
it?
That's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, and it comes to the whole conversation of for lack of better words, will we take it seriously? I think we will to an extent because I think if not for the Club World Cup, this could have been the Gold Cup that I feel like a lot of the teams would have brought their A squads because it's the outside of friendlies. When else can you bring everyone in? But then the Club World Cup is probably going to limit that as well.
Yeah,
So might as well see if you can get some combinations, seeing what it is. I Jason Russell Rowe to me is the better next man up for Jonathan David. I think their styles are more similar in that
I
sense
agree, 100%. I
than
agree.
Tanny. And if that's the case, then you can play a Tanny off of even like a Theo Bear is a player who I feel should get more opportunities, but we'll kind of see. Now there's more players. Now it's if this is the true meritocracy that we think it'll be, show me your form, I'll show you your kit.
Well,
And if not, we
look
go.
at Theo Bear as an example. I mean, he was all over the map with Auxerre
Hmm.
for the first 6 months, and it looks like he finally, maybe it's like he was with Motherwell. This year 2 Motherwell. It's like a switch has turned on with him. He's being given the opportunity to show what he can do right now. He scored a goal, a nicely taken goal in his last game. He's getting starting minutes, and I think he just needs to get that under him to be given that opportunity. You need
Hmm.
minutes, you need playing time, you need starts, and this is a thing that none of the strikers not named Laren or Jonathan David
Yes.
have been able to get yet. So maybe use this Gold Cup to see what they can do, because what they're showing off the bench, there's glimpses of what they can do, what they've done with their club, but we haven't seen it yet with them in a Canada jersey.
Hmm.
Maybe this might be a good time to give them an opportunity to start. We're gifted at striker right now, but
Yes.
we don't know what they can do because they need opportunities.
And I think that's what we have to wait for, right? The opportunities will be there. We have a year's worth of friendlies and windows to go through, but then we have after the Nations League, we have the Gold Cup, and that's so. Hopefully, we learn something. I'm always looking to see what I learned. I mean, that's what my reaction videos are. What did I actually learn from
Yeah.
these teams? And we'll kind of go from there. But yeah,
This past January, for instance, was a missed opportunity for Canada when we didn't get our Camp Poutine.
yeah.
Um, you look at the United States men's team right now. there's 3 guys that made an impact in their Camp Cupcake in January. They're on this Nations League team right now. You got Brian White, Diego Luna, and
Then Patrick Edgerman.
Agamang. I'm not sure how to pronounce
Edgerman.
it.
Yeah, Patrick
Ajimang.
Edgerman. Yeah.
Okay, these 3 made an impact in that window, and they've been able to parlay it into a call up now. We didn't get that, and then I know we're financially strapped for money, but I think that's the next big thing that we've got to do is find that money for camps like that to identify some of these guys. When they give them matches, give them minutes.
True. I mean, I am one who looks at those January camps not necessarily disparagingly, but more on a perspective of the camps you'd be looking at, the players you'd be looking at would be players that you would see most. So unless you're doing like a CPL slash MLS type rosters looking at it, because I'm not sure how many European clubs would.
That is true. You're not going to see a lot of them, if any.
So yes, and so if you're trying to identify those types of players, then it's like, okay, that's fine. I shouldn't need a camp routine for that. It's nice to have, but see, this is what happens when you spend too many years watching the Mexicans and the Americans of football. You look at it as like, ooh, you had a camp. Cool. You played the C team of this country. And now I'm just like, I wish I could have played the C. I feel like post graduation from university, like I wish I had a job I could complain about. And now it's like, I hate my job. But like, I wish I had one at that point.
Yeah.
And so I look at it. There's value to it. I agree with you. I don't know if it's as big of a value as we would see because I think ultimately be intentional. We've come off of 2 eras in national team coaches where it just felt like both coaches had a top 20 of the 24 player roster pool, and the other 4 were rotations due to injury or maybe someone. Ike Ugbo showed up. Oh, okay, cool. We'll have an Ike Ugbo. And so for me, I still have that. Not scar tissue is not the right word. I still have the effects of living in that space where it doesn't matter. These people will get called up. So would it make a difference? You'll still call up those same people, right? And so that's kind of why I look at it. I think there's value to it. There's no doubt. But I think
again, just using the American example, I mean, there was a lot of debate whether it was a camp that was worthwhile for the United States too. And that's the argument that crept north of the border too. But when you see 3 guys that likely wouldn't have gotten that opportunity, and they took it in that January camp, and I don't know, you look at guys like Tani or JRR, guys like Stephen Afrifa, maybe a Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy. These are guys that maybe you bring into a camp like this, and Nathan Saliba, now he gets to play. Yeah, you know what? Let them have a chance at some of the these countries in the Caribbean. We had all the stars on our team right now. They had to do that 4 years ago too.
Yeah,
that's how you learn your craft. Bring them in. It's a low pressure environment, but they're still playing. You're still training with them. You get to see what they can do. That's what I want to see.
And I've changed my tone because I'm like, that's it. If I had seen more, so you just have to sell me with fullbacks, Andre. If you tell me that we'll see new fullbacks, I'm in.
You probably would have. I don't know exactly who they were, but definitely a guy like a Zoran Basong would have gotten more opportunity. On the right side, I'm not sure who we got. What I've got listed there, anyways. I don't know if Kobe's the guy, but check him out.
Yeah. Well, it would have been a good like you said, it would have been a great low pressure opportunity for us to see those players. And we don't. Maybe they do it. I think it'd be something they'd be foolish not to do next year.
And again, goalkeepers. We talked earlier about goalkeepers not getting any games in any matches. It would have been perfect for some of these guys like Sirois or Pantemis or McGill, because he wasn't playing a high level in Europe. I think he might have been able to come over.
Yeah, and it would have been right in that right good spot of still on winter break, so they probably would have had the opportunity to do so. But nope. Look, I've swung back over. So bring up Pet Camp Poutine. I'll bring the cheese curds. We're in. we're ready to go. Ah, all right. Andre, before we go, you're on Blue Sky and you're on Twitter. Blue Sky, your handle is Andre-S9 at Blue Sky Social. And then what is your handle on Twitter for
You know,
people?
if you just put my name in, I'm not hiding behind anything. Just put my name in, and it'll come up.
All right.
I don't memorize those things either. I put them in, and I'm done.
And I'm someone who apparently doesn't introduce himself with his name for like 3 years. So I was like, I realized.
Well, now I know.
Now you know. Now you know. But yes, all the best to Canada. Let me know in the comments if we won or if we didn't, guys. I'll still comment regardless. I hope they win. I need this. I need every matchup right now for very clear reasons that I don't need to talk about, where regardless of where your current line of demarcation or border is currently located. I
If
need
I'm
these
staying up,
wins.
if I'm staying up past midnight on a weekday night, they better win.
I agree. On a Thursday, no less. We work
That's what I
tomorrow.
mean, a weekday night. So
Ugh. All right, guys. So enjoy that. Find Andre there. It will be in the description as well, guys. Thank you again for being here, Andre. And as always, guys, we'll
my
stop
pleasure.
talking right here.